The locker slammed so hard the entire hallway echoed. Ashley Thompson pressed her back against the cold metal, her breath coming in short gasps. 20 feet away, Brandon Hayes stood with his lacrosse team flanking him like wolves circling prey. His designer sneakers squeaked against the polished floor as he took another step forward. "Where are you gonna run now, welfare case?" Brandon's voice dripped with the kind of cruelty that comes from never hearing the word no. The fluorescent lights caught the gold thread in his $200 polo shirt. Behind him, Connor Davis already had his phone out, recording everything. Ashley's hands trembled, not from fear, from restraint. 10 years of martial arts training screamed at her muscles to move, to defend, to strike. But her father's voice echoed louder, "Never start a fight, baby girl, but always finish one." "Please," she whispered, hating how small her voice sounded. "Just let me go to class." Brandon laughed. The sound bounced off the lockers like breaking glass. "Did you guys hear that?" She said, "Please?" He turned to his crew, arms spread wide like he was on stage. "Maybe if you beg prettier, I'll think about it." The other students in the hallway did what they always did. They looked away. They walked faster. They pretended not to see. Ashley understood. Going against Brandon Hayes meant going against his father, Mayor Hayes, in this school, in this town. That was social suicide. "I'm talking to you." Thrift store. Brandon's shadow fell across her face. He was close enough now that she could smell his cologne. Something expensive that probably cost more than her mom made in a week. "Look at me when I'm teaching you where you belong." If you're feeling that rush of what's going to happen next, hit that like button. It really helps more people discover these stories. And if you want to share where you're watching from, drop it in the comments below. For those who want to support more stories like this one, there's a thanks button right under this video. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps me bring you more inspiring tales of courage and standing up for what's right. Thank you for being here. Now, let's see what happens when push comes to shove. Ashley lifted her eyes. For just a moment, something flickered across Brandon's face, something that looked almost like uncertainty, because Ashley's eyes weren't filled with tears like he expected. They were calm, focused, the eyes of someone who had been hit before and learned how to hit back. Then his hand reached for her collar. 2 hours earlier, Ashley had been hiding in the third-floor bathroom, her shirt torn at the shoulder from Brandon's last lesson. She sat on the closed toilet lid, knees pulled to her chest, trying to make herself smaller. Through the thin stall door, she could hear other girls coming and going, chatting about homework and boys and weekend plans, normal things, things that felt like they belonged to a different universe. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mom. "Honey, I'm sorry, but I have to take another double shift. There's leftover pasta in the fridge. Love you." Ashley stared at the message. Her mom already worked 2 jobs. One of them at Hayes Industries. The bitter irony wasn't lost on her. Every morning at 6, her mother put on her uniform and went to clean the offices of the man whose son made Ashley's life hell. She couldn't tell her. Couldn't add one more burden to shoulders already carrying too much. Her mom had aged 10 years in the 2 years since Dad died. The funeral bills, the mortgage, Grandma's medical expenses, they were drowning, and her mom was killing herself trying to keep them afloat. Ashley pulled out her phone and scrolled to the photos she kept hidden in a locked folder. Her dad in his police uniform, badge shining. Her dad teaching her first kick at the community center. Her dad's smile. bright and proud. The day she earned her black belt. "Strength isn't about fighting, Ashley," he'd said, kneeling down to her 6-year-old height. "It's about protecting yourself, protecting others, protecting what's right." She wondered what he'd say now. Would he tell her to report Brandon to the principal? She'd tried that. Principal Roberts, Brandon's godfather, had looked at her with practiced concern and promised to look into it. Nothing changed except Brandon learned to be more careful about where he cornered her. The third-floor West Wing had no cameras. He'd made sure she knew that. The bathroom door burst open. Laughter filled the space, sharp and cruel. Ashley recognized the voices immediately. Madison and Chloe, Brandon's usual audience. "Did you see the look on her face?" Madison's voice was breathless with excitement. "When Brandon pulled her backpack and everything fell out, I thought she was going to cry." "Connor got it all on video," Chloe added. "He's already editing it for Instagram." Ashley pressed her hand over her mouth, fighting the urge to vomit. It wasn't enough that they humiliated her. They had to broadcast it, make sure everyone could relive her shame whenever they wanted. "Brandon says he's planning something big for Wednesday," Madison continued. "Says he's going to teach her a lesson she won't forget." "About time. I'm so sick of her walking around here like she belongs." Their voices faded as they left. Ashley waited another 10 minutes before emerging from the stall. Her reflection in the mirror looked like a stranger. When had she gotten so thin? When had those dark circles appeared under her eyes? She looked like a ghost, haunting her own life. Wednesday, 2 days away. She splashed cold water on her face and tried to smooth down her second-hand clothes. The tear in her shirt was getting worse. She'd have to try to sew it tonight. Again, chemistry class was her only refuge. Kayla Martinez sat at the lab table next to hers. And while they weren't exactly friends, Kayla had never joined in the torment. Sometimes Ashley caught her watching with something that might have been sympathy, or maybe pity. It was hard to tell the difference anymore. Today. Kayla kept glancing over, her fingers twitching toward her phone. Finally, she leaned over and whispered, "Are you okay?" Ashley almost laughed. When was the last time someone at school had asked her that? "I'm fine." "No, you're not." Kayla's voice was quiet but firm. "I saw what happened, by the lockers. Everyone sees." Ashley focused on her periodic table, pretending to study. "No one does anything." "Maybe." Kayla hesitated. "Maybe someone should." Before Ashley could respond, their teacher started the lesson, but throughout the class. She noticed Kayla typing furiously on her phone, hidden under the desk. Every now and then, she'd look at Ashley with an expression that was hard to read. After school, Ashley took the long way home. It added 20 minutes to her walk, but it meant avoiding the parking lot where Brandon and his crew usually hung out. The November air bit through her thin jacket. Colorado winters came early and harsh, and she'd already outgrown last year's coat. The community center sat on the corner of Martin Luther King Boulevard, its brick facade tagged with graffiti that the city never seemed to get around to cleaning. Ashley paused outside. She hadn't been back since her dad's funeral. Sifu Wilson had come to the service, had hugged her and told her she was always welcome. But how could she train in the place where every mat, every wall, every trophy in the case reminded her of what she'd lost? Through the window, she could see kids in white G's practicing forms. One little girl, maybe 7 years old, threw a roundhouse kick and lost her balance, tumbling to the mat. Sifu Wilson helped her up, patient and encouraging, the same way he'd helped Ashley all those years ago. Her phone buzzed, an Instagram notification. Her stomach clenched. She knew she shouldn't look, but her fingers moved anyway. Brandon had posted a photo. It was her. From earlier today, on her knees picking up her scattered books. He'd edited it, adding a crown emoji labeled Poverty Princess above her head. The caption read, "Some people just don't know their place. Time for another lesson. Who wants to watch?" The comments were already flooding in. Laughing emojis, fire emojis. Kids from school competing to see who could be cruelest. Each comment felt like another kick to her ribs. But then she saw something that made her pause. A comment from an account she didn't recognize. "Keep recording. Evidence builds. Justice comes." She clicked on the profile. It was private. Created today. The username was just numbers. As she stared at it, a DM popped up. "I see everything. I'm recording everything. He's going to pay. KK." Kayla Ashley's heart raced. She typed back, "Who is this?" Someone who's sick of watching. Someone who knows what it's like to be targeted. Check your locker tomorrow morning. The account went silent after that. Ashley walked home in a daze, her mind spinning. For 2 years, she'd been alone in this. The possibility that someone, anyone, might be on her side felt too dangerous to hope for. At home, the house was empty and cold. Her mom wouldn't be back until after midnight. Ashley turned on the heat for just a few minutes. Long enough to take the edge off. They had to make the oil last until her mom's next paycheck. She heated up the leftover pasta and sat at the kitchen table. Her dad's empty chair across from her. Sometimes she still expected him to walk through the door, hang up his badge, and ask about her day. "Any dragons to slay today, kiddo?" he'd joke. She'd roll her eyes and tell him about school, carefully editing out the bad parts even then. She'd always been protecting her parents, even before there was only one left to protect. After dinner, she went to her room and opened her laptop. It was old, held together with duct tape, but it worked. She found the folder she hadn't opened in 2 years. Videos her dad had recorded of their training sessions. "Okay, Ashley, show me that spinning back kick again." Her dad's voice filled the room, warm and alive. On screen, 10-year-old Ashley chambered her leg, pivoted, and threw the kick with surprising power for such a small girl. "That's my girl. You see how you used your whole body. That's where the power comes from. Not just the leg, but the rotation, the core, everything working together." Young Ashley beamed at the camera. "Can I break boards like you yet?" "Not yet, baby girl, but someday. When you're ready, when you need it." Ashley paused the video. When you need it. Did he somehow know? Could he have imagined his daughter would be here? Alone and hunted, with skills she was too afraid to use. She closed the laptop and lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Wednesday. Madison had said Brandon was planning something big for Wednesday. That was in the West Wing, where there were no cameras, where teachers rarely patrolled, where anything could happen and it would be her word against his, except now. Maybe. Someone was recording. Someone was building evidence. Someone cared. Ashley let herself imagine it for just a moment. What would happen if she fought back? If she used what her father taught her? Brandon had never been hit in his life. Never faced someone who could defend themselves. He picked his targets carefully. The poor kids. The quiet ones. The ones without connections or protection. But she had protection. It lived in her muscle memory, in 10 years of training, in every form and kata she'd practiced until they became part of her DNA. She just had to be willing to use it. Her phone lit up with another notification. Her mom, texting her goodnight from her break. Ashley texted back, adding heart emojis she didn't feel. Then she set her alarm and tried to sleep, knowing tomorrow would bring her one day closer to whatever Brandon had planned. In her dreams, she was 6 years old again, standing in the community center for the first time. Sifu Wilson knelt in front of her, his face kind but serious. Martial arts is not about hurting people, Ashley. It's about being so strong that no one can hurt you. Do you understand? She nodded, even though she didn't. Not really. Not until now. Tuesday morning came gray and cold. Ashley dressed carefully, choosing her most intact clothes. She'd sewn the tear in her shirt last night, and if she kept her jacket on, no one would notice. At school, she went straight to her locker, heart pounding. Taped to the inside was a small flash drive. No note, but she knew who it was from. She palmed it quickly and slipped it into her pocket. First period was a blur. She couldn't focus, too aware of the drive burning in her pocket. At lunch, she found an empty computer in the library and plugged it in. 47 videos. Kayla had been recording for months. Not just Ashley, but Brandon's other victims too. A freshman cornered in the bathroom. A special needs kid having his lunch money taken. A girl being groped while Brandon's friends laughed. And through it all, Brandon's face, clear and undeniable. "Oh my God," Ashley breathed. "It's worse than you thought, isn't it?" Ashley spun around. Kayla stood behind her, face grim. "How long have you been recording?" "Since my cousin was his target last year. She transferred schools. Her parents couldn't afford a lawyer to fight the Hayes family, so she just left. But I stayed, and I watched, and I recorded everything." "We have to take this to someone." Kayla's laugh was bitter. "Who? Roberts. The school board that Mayor Hayes personally appointed, the police who worship the ground he walks on because he increased their budget. Then why show me? Because tomorrow, something's going to happen. I heard Brandon talking. He's angry about something, angrier than usual. And when Brandon Hayes gets angry, someone gets hurt." Kayla met her eyes. "I think tomorrow, he's going to go too far. And when he does, I'll be recording. And this time, it won't just disappear." Ashley's hands shook as she removed the drive. "Why do you care what happens to me?" "Because 2 years ago, I was you. New school. No money, no friends. Brandon smelled the fear on me like blood in the water. But I learned to be invisible. You—" Kayla shook her head. "You never learned that. You walk these halls like you have a right to be here, and that drives him crazy." The bell rang. As students flooded the library, Kayla leaned close. "Whatever happens tomorrow, don't hold back. The whole world is going to be watching." The rest of Tuesday passed in a strange haze. Ashley went through the motions of normalcy, but her mind was elsewhere. That night, she told her mom she was going to study at the library. Instead, she found herself standing outside the community center again. This time, she went in. The familiar smell hit her first. Sweat and rubber mats, and the faint trace of incense Sifu Wilson burned before meditation. The kids' class was just ending, parents collecting their little warriors. "Ashley." She turned. Sifu Wilson looked exactly the same. Gray at the temples now, a few more lines around his eyes, but the same steady presence that had made her feel safe. all those years. Sifu, her voice cracked. He crossed to her in 3 quick strides and pulled her into a hug. She broke. 2 years of held-back tears came flooding out. He didn't say anything, just held her while she sobbed out the whole story. Brandon. The bullying, tomorrow. When she finally pulled back, his face was carved from stone. "Show me," he said simply. "What?" "Show me you remember." Ashley looked down at her jeans and jacket. "I'm not dressed for... A true warrior is always ready." "Show me." And just like that, she was 6 years old again, eager to prove herself. She stepped onto the mat, muscle memory taking over. First form, basic kicks, combinations. By the time she reached the advanced forms, other students had stopped to watch. Her body remembered everything. Every technique her father had drilled into her. Every lesson Sifu Wilson had taught. When she finished, breathing hard, Sifu Wilson nodded once. "You're stronger than you were. Pain does that sometimes." He stepped closer. "Your father would be proud, not because you can fight, but because you've chosen not to. That takes true strength. But tomorrow, you'll do what you must, and whatever that is, it will be right, because you're not that scared little girl anymore. You're a warrior who chooses peace, until peace is no longer an option." Ashley left the center feeling different. Not lighter, exactly, but more solid, more real. She wasn't a victim. She was a black belt who had chosen restraint. But tomorrow, if Brandon crossed the line, he seemed determined to cross. She would make a different choice, at home. She found her mom already asleep on the couch, still in her work uniform. Ashley covered her with a blanket and kissed her forehead. In her room, she opened her closet and dug to the back, pulling out a box she hadn't touched in 2 years. Her black belt, her father's badge, the program from his funeral. She laid them on her bed like armor for a battle she'd been avoiding. Tomorrow felt like a countdown to something inevitable. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. "West Wing, 3 p.m. He's bringing friends. Be ready. A friend." Ashley stared at the message. A friend. She'd almost forgotten what that felt like. She folded her father's badge and tucked it into her pocket. Tomorrow. She'd carry him with her. Tomorrow. She'd remember who she really was. A text from Kayla popped up. "Check Brandon's Instagram." Ashley's stomach turned as she opened the app. Brandon had posted a video. He was in his room, surrounded by his crew. The caption made her blood run cold. "Tomorrow, we finish what we started. Time to take out the trash. West Wing, 3 p.m. Don't miss the show." The comments were already exploding, but mixed in with the usual cruel cheers were new voices. "This is evidence of premeditation. Screen recorded. Cops should see this." Ashley realized with a start that Kayla had been busy. Those accounts. They were all her, building a case in public view. Wednesday morning dawned bright and bitter cold. Ashley dressed with purpose. Jeans that wouldn't restrict movement. Her most secure shoes. Under her regular shirt. A compression tank that wouldn't ride up if grabbed. She wasn't planning to fight, but she was done being unprepared. "You're up early, honey." Her mom stood in the doorway, already dressed for her morning shift. "Big test today," Ashley said. Not a lie, exactly. Her mom crossed the room and hugged her tight. "I know things have been hard since, Dad." She pulled back, eyes wet. "But you're so strong, baby, stronger than you know." Ashley held on an extra second. "I love you, Mom." Love you too. There's $20 on the counter for lunch this week. Ashley watched her leave, then picked up the 20. Her mom probably skipped her own lunches to leave that money. Another reason to be strong. Another reason to survive whatever came next. At school, the atmosphere was electric. Word had spread. Brandon's post had gone beyond their school, shared and reshared until half of Denver seemed to know something was going down at Lincoln High. Ashley saw kids she'd never talked to giving her meaningful looks. A few even whispered, "Good luck," as she passed. In first period, her teacher kept glancing at her with worried eyes. Word had reached the staff. But what could they do? Brandon had been careful. Nothing in his post was explicitly threatening. Just a boy talking about finishing something. By lunch, Ashley could barely eat. Her stomach was a knot of anxiety and anticipation. Kayla sat down across from her, something she'd never done before. "I've got 12 different people ready to stream," she said quietly. "Different angles, different platforms. He can't delete them all." "Why are you doing this?" Kayla smiled sadly. "Because someone should have done it for my cousin. Because someone should have done it for all of us." She stood to leave, then paused. "Ashley, don't hold back. Whatever training you've been hiding, use it. This ends today." 2:45. Ashley stood at her locker, hands steady now. The fear was still there, but underneath it was something else. Resolution. She'd been running for 2 years, hiding who she was, what she could do, protecting everyone but herself. No more. She felt them before she saw them. The energy in the hallway shifted, students pressing against the walls as Brandon and his crew approached. 6 of them, all in their lacrosse jerseys like armor. Connor had his phone out already. "There she is," Brandon's voice carried over the nervous silence. "Right on time." Ashley closed her locker and turned. The hallway was packed now, kids filming from every angle. She spotted Kayla near the water fountain, phone steady. "I'm not afraid of you," Ashley said. Her voice didn't shake. Brandon's smile was all teeth. "You should be." They formed a circle around her, backing her toward the dead-end corner where the west wing ended. No cameras here, but 50 phone cameras more than made up for it. Ashley let them herd her, keeping her breathing steady, in through the nose, out through the mouth, just like her father taught her. "You know what your problem is." Brandon stepped into the circle, close enough that she could see the rage in his eyes. "You don't know your place. Your welfare mother cleans my father's toilets, and you walk around here like you're somebody." "I am somebody," Ashley said quietly. "I'm the daughter of David Thompson. He was a hero." "What's your father?" The slap came fast, but not fast enough. Ashley's hand moved on instinct, catching Brandon's wrist. Inches from her face, the crowd gasped. For a moment, they stood frozen, Ashley's grip firm on his wrist. Brandon's eyes went wide with shock. No one had ever stopped him before. "Let go!" he snarled. "No!" He swung with his other hand. This time. Ashley didn't just block. She redirected his momentum, using his own force to spin him off balance. Brandon stumbled, catching himself against the lockers. The crowd exploded in whispers. Connor's hand shook as he filmed. "You little—" Brandon charged. Time slowed. Ashley saw everything with perfect clarity. His weight on his front foot, his right shoulder telegraphing the tackle, his complete lack of training beyond playground brawling. She pivoted, chambered her right leg, and threw the spinning back kick her father had taught her when she was 10. The same kick she'd practiced thousands of times. The same kick she'd never thrown in anger. Until now. Her heel connected with his solar plexus with a sound like a baseball bat hitting a sandbag. Brandon's forward momentum met the immovable force of her kick. The impact lifted him off his feet, sending him flying backward into the lockers with a crash that echoed through the hallway. He slid down the metal, gasping like a fish out of water, unable to breathe. His friends stood frozen, unable to process what they'd just witnessed. The quiet girl, the victim, had just dropped their untouchable leader with a single kick. Ashley stood in perfect fighting stance, balanced and ready. But Brandon wasn't getting up. He was crying now, clutching his stomach. The careful mask of cruelty shattered to reveal the scared bully underneath. Someone started clapping, then another. Then the entire hallway erupted in applause and cheers that seemed to shake the walls. But Ashley only had eyes for Brandon. She walked over and knelt beside him, her voice low enough that only he and the nearest cameras could hear. "My place," she said, "is wherever I choose to stand. And I'm done letting you tell me otherwise." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Brandon gasped, a raw, desperate sound as air finally rushed back into his lungs. His face had turned purple, then white, and now settled into a sickly gray. Tears streamed down his cheeks as he clutched his stomach, trying to curl into himself. Brandon, one of his teammates stepped forward, then stopped, unsure. The king had fallen, and none of his court knew what to do. Ashley straightened from her fighting stance, her breathing controlled and even. Around her, the crowd seemed to pulse with electric energy. Phones captured every angle, every second, every tear rolling down Brandon Hayes' face. "Someone call the nurse," Ashley said calmly. That broke the spell. Students scattered, some running for help, others pressing closer to film. But through it all, Connor Davis stood frozen, his phone hanging limp at his side. He looked at Brandon writhing on the floor, then at Ashley standing tall, and something shifted in his expression. "Connor," Brandon wheezed, reaching out. "Help me up, man, we're not done." Connor took a step back, then another. "No," he said quietly. "We're done. I'm done." He pocketed his phone and walked away, pushing through the crowd without looking back. "Traitor," Brandon tried to yell, but it came out as a broken whisper. He managed to pull himself to sitting, back against the lockers, still holding his stomach. My dad's going to destroy you." Ashley looked down at him, and for the first time in 2 years, she felt pity instead of fear. "Your dad's been destroying you for years. Maybe it's time to break that cycle." Brandon's face crumbled. The mask he wore, the one made of privilege and cruelty, fell away completely. "You don't understand," he sobbed. If I don't win, if I'm not the best, if I show weakness." "Stop." Madison Hayes pushed through the crowd, her face pale. Brandon's younger sister, a freshman Ashley had seen around but never connected to the monster who tormented her. "Just stop, Brandon. Stop being him." "Maddie." Brandon looked up at his sister in shock. "I'm tired of pretending," Madison said, her voice shaking. "Tired of watching you turn into Dad. Tired of being scared in my own house." She looked at Ashley. "Thank you." Someone finally stood up to a Hayes man. The crowd parted as heavy footsteps approached. Principal Roberts burst through, his face red with exertion and rage. He took in the scene. Brandon on the floor, Ashley standing, hundreds of phones recording. "What is going on here?" His eyes fixed on Ashley. "Did you assault this student?" "No." Kayla Martinez stepped forward, phone held high. "Brandon Hayes assaulted Ashley Thompson. We have 47 different angles of video showing him attacking first. Ashley defended herself. That's not... You can't just... Robert sputtered. It's already online. Someone called out. 20,000 views in 3 minutes. 50,000. Another voice corrected. It's trending. Roberts's phone began ringing. He ignored it, focusing on Ashley with barely contained fury. You're suspended, young lady, pending expulsion. I don't care what... No, she's not. The voice came from behind the crowd. Mrs. Chen, the AP history teacher, pushed through with several other teachers behind her. We've been documenting Brandon's behavior for months. HR told us to wait. That you were handling it. Well, we're done waiting. The union's already been notified. Mr. Jackson, the math teacher, added, along with the school board and the media. That video, it's evidence of a pattern you've been covering up. Roberts's phone rang again. This time he looked at it, and his face went white. The superintendent, he muttered, as Roberts stepped away to take the call. 2 paramedics arrived with the school nurse. They knelt beside Brandon, checking his breathing and pupils. Solar plexus strike, one noted. Clean hit. He'll be fine. Just knocked the wind out of him good. Might have some bruising. I want her arrested, Brandon gasped out. Assault? The paramedic, an older black woman with kind eyes, looked at him steadily. Son, I've seen assault victims. You're not one. You're a bully who picked the wrong target. She glanced at Ashley with something like approval. Good form on that kick. By the way, as they helped Brandon onto a stretcher, Madison followed. I'm calling Mom. She told him. Her lawyer, not Dad's. Maddie, you can't... Watch me. She looked back at Ashley one more time. My mom left him 6 months ago. She's been documenting everything. The abuse, the cover-ups, all of it. This video. It's the last piece she needed to go public. The crowd began to disperse slowly, but the energy remained. Students who had never spoken to Ashley before nodded at her with respect. A few even whispered, "Thank you," as they passed. Kayla appeared at her elbow. Check your phone. Ashley pulled it out to see her notifications exploding. The video was everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Even news sites were picking it up. High school girl delivers justice with single kick, read one headline. Mayor's son exposed as serial bully, read another. 200,000 views, Kayla said with satisfaction. And climbing. The whole country's about to know who Brandon Hayes really is. Principal Roberts returned, his face ashen. The superintendent wants to see us. All of us. Now. He couldn't even look at Ashley. Apparently, the governor's office called, and the Department of Education. And, his voice cracked. Channel 9 News is in the parking lot. The next hour blurred together. Ashley found herself in the superintendent's office with her mother, who had been pulled from work. Dr. Williams, the superintendent, was a severe woman who looked like she hadn't slept in days. First, she said, looking directly at Roberts, you're suspended pending investigation. Get out of my office. Roberts opened his mouth, closed it, and slunk out like a beaten dog. Now, Dr. Williams turned to Ashley and her mother. I've reviewed the footage. I've seen the documentation the teachers compiled. I've read the complaint that was apparently filed by Miss Martinez here. She gestured to Kayla, who sat with her own parents. Ashley, you won't face any disciplinary action. You defended yourself against a clear assault. Ashley's mom gripped her hand so tight it hurt. My baby's been going through this for 2 years. I'm sorry, Mom, Ashley whispered. I didn't want to worry you. Additionally, Dr. Williams continued, the school will be implementing new anti-bullying measures immediately. Real ones, with real consequences, and we'll be providing counseling services for all affected students. What about Brandon? Ashley asked. The Hayes family has bigger problems right now, Dr. Williams said carefully. I believe the mayor is about to hold a press conference. They turned on the office television just in time to see Mayor Hayes at a podium, looking haggard. Effective immediately, I am resigning as mayor of Denver. Recent events have made it clear that I need to focus on my family and addressing personal issues. The camera cut to protesters outside City Hall, holding signs that read, Bullies don't belong in office and Justice for Ashley. The video had done more than go viral. It had started a movement. Over the next week, everything changed. The video hit 20 million views. National news picked up the story. Other victims of bullying began sharing their own stories with the hashtag #StandLikeAshley. Brandon was expelled and entered a treatment program for anger management and family therapy. His father faced multiple investigations for corruption that his wife's lawyers had exposed. Madison became an advocate for abuse victims, using her platform to break the cycle her family had perpetuated. Connor Davis publicly apologized and released all the videos he'd taken over the years, providing evidence for dozens of bullying cases. He transferred schools and started an anti-bullying campaign. But the biggest change was in Ashley herself. 3 weeks after the kick heard round the internet, she stood in the community center, teaching a self-defense class to 20 teenage girls. Sifu Wilson watched from the side, pride evident on his face. Remember, Ashley told her students, the goal isn't to hurt anyone, it's to protect yourself, to know that you can, if you need to. But what if we're scared? A small freshman asked, reminding Ashley of herself. Being scared is normal, Ashley said. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite the fear. And sometimes, the most courageous thing you can do is simply stand your ground and say, no more. After class, her mom picked her up. They'd moved to a better apartment with the money from a GoFundMe that Kayla had started. Over $300,000 raised for the girl who stood up to power. I'm proud of you, her mom said for the 100th time. Your dad would be too. I know, Ashley said, and for the first time, she truly believed it. That evening, Ashley visited her father's grave. The cemetery was quiet. November wind rustling the remaining leaves. She knelt by his headstone and pulled out her black belt, worn and frayed at the edges. I finally used it, Dad, she whispered. Not the way I thought I would, not in a tournament or competition, but to protect myself, to stand up for what's right. She placed the belt on his grave, next to the fresh flowers her mom had left that morning. You taught me that strength wasn't about fighting. It was about protecting. But sometimes, protecting yourself means fighting back. I hope you understand. The wind picked up, and for just a moment, Ashley could swear she felt her father's presence, a warmth despite the cold, a sense of approval and love that transcended death. She stood, brushing dirt from her knees. Tomorrow, she'd return to school, not as a victim, not as a viral sensation, but as herself. Ashley Thompson, daughter of a hero, student, teacher, survivor. As she walked away, her phone buzzed, a message from a number she didn't recognize. Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm 15 and being bullied at my school. I saw your video. Can you teach me to be brave like you? Ashley smiled and typed back. Bravery isn't something I can teach you. It's something you already have. Sometimes you just need someone to remind you it's there. She pocketed her phone and headed home, walking tall through the streets of Denver, no longer hiding, no longer afraid. Finally, truly free. It was the moment after, when she stood her ground and chose mercy over revenge. When she proved that true strength comes not from the ability to hurt, but from the wisdom to know when fighting is necessary and when compassion is the real victory. The girl who had hidden in bathroom stalls was gone. In her place stood a young woman who knew her worth, owned her power, and would never again let anyone tell her where she belonged. She belonged wherever she chose to stand, and she would never kneel again. 6 months later, Ashley stood before the Denver City Council, her mother and Sifu Wilson beside her. The room was packed with students, parents, and teachers from across the district. The Ashley Thompson Safe Schools Act, the council president announced, passes unanimously. The room erupted in applause. The act mandated real consequences for bullying, independent review boards for complaints, and mandatory self-defense classes for all students. It was change, real change, born from one moment of courage. After the meeting, Ashley was surrounded by reporters, but she noticed a familiar face hanging back. Brandon Hayes, looking healthier than she'd ever seen him. Their eyes met across the crowded room. He approached slowly, shoulders back, but not aggressive. "I wanted to thank you," he said quietly, "for what you said that day about breaking the cycle." Ashley studied him. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something that might have been genuine humility. "How's therapy going?" "Hard," he admitted. "But good. My dad and we're both in treatment now. Maddie says hi. By the way, she's president of the anti-bullying club at Lincoln." They stood there, former bully and former victim, in a moment of understanding. Not friendship, maybe never that, but acknowledgement of shared humanity. "Take care, Brandon," Ashley said finally. "You too, Ashley. And I'm sorry for everything." As he walked away, Ashley felt the last weight lift from her shoulders. The past was done. The future stretched ahead, full of possibility. Her father's badge, now mounted in a shadow box in her room, caught the afternoon light. Next to it hung her black belt and a photo from the day she taught her 100th self-defense student. David Thompson had raised a warrior, one who fought not with fists, but with courage, compassion, and an unshakable belief in justice. And that was the greatest victory of all.